belt cutter slash window breaker. So when you look at it, you're like, okay, what does this thing do? Oh my gosh, let me just tell you. First of all, it's a flashlight for any time you needed to get out and do something, walk the dog, check your car, whatever. But it also, and it has a magnet, so if you are working on fixing a tire or whatever you need to do, you can just prop it into whatever position. It has a little hidden razor inside, which you can't touch with your fingers, can't get at it, but you slide it across a belt and you can cut somebody's belt. So if you see somebody in an accident and they're either unconscious or they can't get out of, they're wedged in, but you want to get them out of the belt, you can do that. And then finally, they also have what we call a strike point breaker. This little point right here, and I'll show it to you on a couple of these. We've actually removed the cap on it there. There it is with the cap. This little point with a very minimal amount of power and a tap will go through any of that safety glass that you need to get through to get in or to get out of a vehicle if you're trapped inside. And we all know if there's smoke in the car, or if you, heaven forbid, you wind up in some water and you need to get out of a car, it's an emergency thing that you really need. You're gonna get 3 of these for $19.95. This is a brand new item. They are individually boxed, so if you need to buy belated holiday gifts for anybody or New Year's gifts for people or whatever it is, I think they're brilliant. They come individually boxed so you can give them out. And of course, that light is super duper 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 bright. When you see it go on, I mean, it is incredible. And that's that. Those are Cobb. I think these are the Cobb lights that are inside there. Lou will explain it all. 712-755 is the item number. Hey Lou, these could come in handy. These could save your life. I hope they never have to, but they could.
No, they absolutely could. And you know, even if you're just working on your car, these are great to have. And you were right. It's a Cobb LED that's in this. It's the chips on board LED. Let's look at this in close up real quick. First of all, the body of this is all anodized aluminum, which is why the colors look so amazing, but it's also so sturdy. That's that Cobb LED right there. You could see that. That's the seatbelt cutter, and that's the window breaker, and then you've got the little rubber cap on there. If I turn this on real quick, I'm just going to show you. Boom. I mean, that is super duper bright right there. Comes with the lanyard on it and all that, so you're not going to drop this if you're walking around and let's say that your hands are wet or something like that. But you know what, Guy? What impressed me about this is we've seen other window breaking devices before, and I'm a big advocate of everybody having a seatbelt cutter and a window breaker in their car. You need that, okay? But the problem with a lot of them is they're so big that you can't take them with you. I like this because, you know, there's a saying that, you know, the best emergency tool is the one you have with you. So this guy can travel with you. You can keep it in your purse. You can keep it in your pocket. You can have it someplace where in an emergency, you're going to be able to get to it even if you're in a rental car. And I think that's a big deal. The other thing I love is that magnet, because this is a metal toolbox and I can stick it right on there, turn that light on, and now I've got some hands-free working there. My wife Kelly's got a Jeep, and I like to add accessories to it and work under the hood and do stuff like that. Sometimes a big flashlight can't get into the tiny little spaces in the engine compartment. This guy gets right in there. So real handy, and I love the fact that it comes with the gift boxes. And for the price to get 3,
it's 20, I know. I was just, my producer Kyle just said, he goes, you get all 3 of these? I'm like, yeah, you get all 3.
You do.
So you're getting them for what, a little less than $7 each, and just to have it in a car. You know, there are a lot of things that you really, really need in case of an emergency. You know, obviously when you're home, you want to make sure you have light, you want to make sure you have water and some food if there's an emergency. When you're in a car, you know, there's a handful of things you really want in your car. Obviously, again, you want something to drink while you're driving. You know, it's always a good idea to bring a snack in your car. Obviously, gasoline, all the things that make your car run. But most people never think about the what if. What if I ran off the road and I went into a ditch? What if I ran off the road and, you know, and was in that ditch and I couldn't get out of my car and yet I could smell smoke? What would I do if, you know, and here are a lot of areas in Florida and even across, you know, some of the other states, you've got canals that are right next to driving areas where you hear about a car that goes in. How are you going to get out of that car if you get stuck? How are you going to cut the seatbelt? Right? If you get a flat tire, how are you going to illuminate it to be able to see it? And having that magnet makes it brilliant. There it is showing you cutting through the seat belt. And by the way, seat belts are a woven nylon. They are next to impossible to cut with a pair of scissors. It takes a lot of work. You saw in that footage, and we'll run it again, how easily it goes right through any seat belt. And all you do is you grab it, you reach down, and you simply slide it across the belt. You don't have to worry about the blade, because the blade is recessed inside. But Lou, in any kind of emergency, you know, and my dad taught me this a long, long time ago, and I teased him about it, was being prepared. I think, you know, it came from two things with my father. One, growing up in a very, very, very poor family with 8 kids. Right. But I think the other thing was he was also a military guy and was in the Army, you know, and was an officer in the Army. And I think he learned, listen, it's all about preparation. It's all about what happens if this happens. It's the same, you know, when they go into battle. It's the same thing. You have to have all these, you have to think about all the scenarios that can affect you. And that's why I just brought those up, you know, driving off a ditch, going into a pond, whatever it is. The people that come out of that are the ones that have prepared a little bit, or a lot of it in this case. This is actually a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you what, I can give you a personal perspective on that too, because I mean, you know, I worked in law enforcement for 21 years, and I can tell you that when you go to a scene, you plan in your head the what ifs. What if this happens? What will I do if? That's very important. That's part of staying alive. And I'll tell you what, that's where something like this comes into play. Because if you never use it, great, that's fantastic. But the one time that you need it, or your kids need it, or somebody you love needs to break a window or cut that seatbelt, that's a big deal, guy. And you know, I've actually had to cut people out of cars with a tool. You can't use a regular pocket knife. You can't use a pair of scissors. You have to have something dedicated, also because it fits right in there. So all the force is dedicated to that when you do it. And as I said earlier, you know, to have a flashlight, you know, that's something you're going to use often, especially with the magnet that's on the bottom of this, as you see right there. But with the seatbelt cutter, with the window breaker, with all that on this, that's something that you're going to use. And again, I hope you never have to. But because of the size of this guy, I feel like people are going to actually take it with them. They're going to carry it with them, and it's going to be accessible. It's going to be there when they need it.
You know what? It's so funny, and Lou, you've worked with me for a long time, and you know I'll talk about stories about my dad a lot. I talk about Daddy. I always throw Daddy under the bus. My dad's no longer with us, but I throw my dad under the bus too, only because he was one of those guys that would over prepare to the point where it would drive you nuts. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? The lists everywhere. Have you done this? Have you done that? And you know what? As I look at it in hindsight now, being a person who's raised a child, I'm like, I get it, I understand it, but these are things that, no matter how annoying they may be or whatever, people telling you, they're the right thing to do. And you don't learn that often. You don't learn that until you are in a family, until you get married, or if you have kids or whatever. And then you realize you're responsible not just for yourself, you're responsible for other people as well. So if you don't buy this just for you, and you get 3, you give one to your kids, or you give one to your you know, nieces or nephews or whatever, if they're driving, it's so worth having in the car. And honestly, it'd be wonderful if you'll use it because you'll use the flashlight. Flashlight's awesome, but if you never use it, it doesn't matter. It's there just in case. It's like with my dad, it's like the 10 gallons of water that he had in the basement forever. Or Lord knows, you know, he would hunt one deer a year, and we would eat it, and he had that in there, and he'd be like, if anything ever happened, I know I can feed my family, and I know there'll be something to drink. Smart. That is and he was right, you know, even though we teased him, and I'd be like, Dad, what's in the freezer? What is this thing? And he'd be like, never mind, if you ever get hungry, we'll have food. So, and I believed in that, you know, never hunting for sport. He just hunted for meat. You know, we didn't have a lot of money when we were kids. So, but I always respected that. That is what these are. These are gifts that show you care. These are gifts that you hope you maybe never have to use most of the features. I hope you never have to use the window breaker, obviously. But if you did, how great is it when you're in your car and you're panicking and you take this and you go boom and you crawl out that window? Then you're going to realize, and you will.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right about that. And you know what I like too is that Bell & Howell's the manufacturer of this, and we know they've been around for 110 years. They've been in HSN for well over a decade. They're in 99 countries around the world. They're doing something right, and they know a lot about lighting. So even just the light that's built into this is of the top quality Cobb LEDs that you can buy. And I love the magnet on this just for this reason, guy, because there's nothing worse than trying to have to do something at night on your car, around your car, and not having a flashlight, or worse yet, having to put it under your neck or, you know, under your armpit or something. This is nice. I stick it to the car. I got that light right there. Look at that. Perfect.
You know, and
everything you need.
Appreciate it coming from you too, because I know Lou, and I've seen you on Facebook. I know we're law enforcement, and you deal with this kind of stuff. It can be really scary, but the bottom line is be prepared. That's all it is. And for $20, right? You get 3 of these, $3.99 on FlexPay. You're gonna love it. Lou, you're sticking around. I know Ty's gonna join you. You got a cool item coming up, but I wanted to mention really quickly, this is $19.95. If you want to get it, almost for free. We've got a great offer on our credit card. You'll get $20 in your account when you open up an account, so you would only pay $3.50 shipping and a little bit of tax. So you probably get this home for $5, $6. You get 3 of them. Not a bad way to join the family here at HSN. If you'd like to become a card member, go to hsn.com. You can always call us as well. All right, we are rounding out our show. We've got one more great item, and my man Ty, who's going to tell you all about it.
We've had some really good items for our cars today, and I'm going to continue that a little bit, whether you're kind of